The world is shifting fast and the church is at a crossroads. But what if these disruptions aren't obstacles? What if they're invitations to renewal? Welcome to the Huntley Leadership Podcast, helping leaders be a positive catalyst in the people they support, the organizations they serve, and the communities they live. This podcast will make you think, laugh, and grit your teeth with new determination to make your parish or business a place of transformation, passion, and purpose. If you're still breathing, you are powered for impact. Welcome to the Huntley Leadership Podcast. I'm Ron Huntley, and today we're going to dive into the 5 disruptive church trends that will rule in 2025. You see, these aren't just abstract ideas. They're opportunities for you and I to lead the church forward with faith, strategically, and with conviction. What's interesting is by the end of this episode, you're going to know how to engage in meaningful faith conversations using global media moments, because they're coming up. You're going to be able to address the growing hunger for truth in a world of relativism. And you're going to be able to navigate AI's impact on preaching and pastoral care. We're also going to look at equipping priests and lay leaders for fruitful, mission-focused leadership. And finally, we're going to talk about mobilizing immigrants as evangelists in your local community. Before we get started, if this episode resonates with you, please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast. It helps us reach more leaders who want to see their parishes flourish. So let's dive in. The first trend is our Pope's health and the possibility of succession. I'm praying for our Pope. I'm praying for peace and I'm praying for healing. But if Pope Francis does die soon, the global media will be consumed with speculation about the next Pope. Most people will be passive spectators. But what if, instead of just watching the headlines, we use this moment to spark faith conversations? Imagine people asking at work or in your family, or even online for that matter, who you think the next Pope will be. This, my friends, is an open door. But will we be ready to walk through it? Be prepared with a response. Instead of shrugging when asked, offer something meaningful. Let me give you an example. If someone were to ask you who the next Pope is going to be, you might want to say something like, honestly, I'm more interested in what kind of church God is inspiring in this time in history. But I suppose the real question is, how do you and I follow Jesus more faithfully? Where are you at with spiritual matters? Turn it into a question. I remember years ago when Pope John Paul II passed away. That was on the media everywhere, wasn't it? And I remember being in Cape Breton. I was in the pharmaceutical industry, and they had a TV on the counter where you would talk to the receptionist, and she did what most receptionists do and ignore you. And I'm looking at the TV, killing some time, and eventually she looked up, and I looked at the TV. I said, "This is amazing, isn't it?" And she went on to tell me a story of how when a Jehovah's Witness knocked on her door, she used to go to church, but the Jehovah's Witness pointed in their Bible that Jesus died on a tree. To which she looked at me and said, "Well, if Jesus died on a tree, and I was told in the Catholic Church he died on a cross, then what else did they lie about?" So I stopped going. I must say, I was absolutely speechless. I blew that opportunity altogether. I did not know how to respond. But I'm hoping to do a lot better this time around, and I hope you will too. The second thing is use social media intentionally. Instead of arguing online, use this as a way to share some insights. For example, post something like, with all the talk about the next Pope, it's a good time to reflect on what it even means to have faith in God. If you're curious, join us for our Alpha course that starts next week. Also, you might want to consider to host a parish Q&A. People are curious right now. Give them some space to ask some questions. You might organize an Ask a Priest night. You want to maybe make the topic about the papacy, apostolic succession, and even Catholic leadership. As it says in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15, always be ready to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. If you're a leader, plan how your parish can use this global moment that may be coming up for evangelization. Trend 2 is the global shift towards conservatism and the search for truth. People are exhausted by relativism, cultural confusion, and the raising mental health struggles. They're searching for something solid. I think part of the problem is there's over 40,000 different brands of Protestant churches, and that's confusing. People are really looking for a church that stands firm in the storm. This is a season to highlight the Catholic Church's stability. Catholicism's been accused of not changing on cultural issues. I think what was once a criticism is starting to be seen as wise. The clear and, often messy history is something that people can research. I believe that the apostolic succession is something people are interested in, and the magisterium is helping make sense of the chaos in our world. Another thing that we can do is teach the why. There's an encyclical called Veritas Splendor. It was written in 1993 by Pope John Paul II. It focuses on the church's role in teaching moral truths, but I want to share with you some of the key points. The first one is moral absolutes. It emphasizes that certain actions are intrinsically evil and can never be justified. The second one is human freedom and truth. True freedom is found in adhering to God's law. The third thing I want to highlight in that document is its focus on conscience. The encyclical stresses the importance of a properly formed conscience that's aligned with church teachings. Fourth is the role of the magisterium. It reaffirms the church's authority in moral teachings. You see, because overall it calls for an adherence to universal moral norms and the importance of living a life consistent with the gospel. People need clarity. This is the time to teach the why behind Catholic morality. It's grounded in something eternal, not subjective opinions. This is also a season to be extra welcoming and on the lookout for new people, while also being rooted in our Catholic faith. We can meet people where they're at, but let's love them enough not to keep them there. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever, as Hebrews 13 reminds us. Is your parish ready to equip seekers with deep and substantial truth? If not, start planning now. Trend 3 is the rise of artificial intelligence. AI is advancing fast, writing, speaking, and even generating sermons. But should the church use it at all? Many non-believers are leading the AI revolution, shaping culture and ethical conversations. If we ignore it, we lose influence. When I think about solutions on this issue, I think about using AI as a tool, not as a substitute. AI can help our pastors become better speakers, and wouldn't that be awesome? It can help structure homilies so that they're more engaging and more relevant. But the preaching must come from a place of prayer and personal revelation that's led by the Holy Spirit. It's not one or the other, but it can be one and the other. The second thing is, I think church leadership should be leading the way in AI ethics. The Vatican's Antiqua e Nova document warns against AI replacing human intelligence. We must be a part of shaping these conversations. Pope John Paul II said, the church has the duty to defend moral order. How can your parish use AI ethically while keeping Jesus at the center? This is a conversation you should be having at your parish council. Disrupting trend number 4 is the impact of global migration on parishes. Post-COVID, our parishes look different, and immigration is reshaping our communities. If we ignore this reality and choose not to skill up as leaders, your parish is in big trouble. Many immigrants come from culturally Catholic realities, but the West is a post-Christian culture. These immigrants have different experiences, different challenges, and different expectations. Now, I have Irish heritage, and when the Irish came to Nova Scotia, we were persecuted. So what did we do? We built Catholic schools. We built our entire life around the local parish, and it became a safe place to belong, kind of like a club. It served its purpose, but its legacy is maintenance thinking. We're not comfortable inviting people into a relationship with Christ. Avoid the trap of giving people what they want and turning your church into a club. Let's learn from history. Yes, give people a safe place to belong and equip them to make disciples of all nations. Consider hosting a focus group. Learn about their needs and expectations, but also lay out your parish mission. Talk about your expectations because it's a two-way street. Train and mobilize them as inviters. Equip them to reach others in ways that many of our current parishioners don't. Encourage engagement in leadership. Build missional communities, not just multicultural masses. In Matthew 28, it says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." Your parish has an opportunity. The question is, will you take it? The fifth and final disruptive trend in 2025 that I wanted to challenge you to think about is clergy shortages and leadership models. Fewer vocations are leading to multi-site churches built on models that were already failing. It's hard enough to lead one church on mission, but now priests are expected to run multiple churches with no additional training or support. We say we want mission, yet we do nothing to skill up our leaders and our teams to adapt to their shifting reality. Simply shifting the structure is insufficient. I know you know that, but what can we do? Consider defining missional leadership and train and educate your priests and lay leaders accordingly. Invest in coaching or raise up coaches as a part of your diocesan staffing structure to equip clergy and lay leaders. Right now, we're currently in production of a new online course for training diocesan staff, apostolate coaches, and even executive coaches that are now working in the space of parish renewal. You're going to want to sign up for our newsletter at huntleyleadership.com to be the first to get notified of the launch in 2025. We need to explore alternative parish leadership models where there is a shortage of priests. We do well to learn to identify and raise up lay leaders who can obediently, humbly, and effectively lead growth in the season of change. We need to innovate for heaven's sake, literally for heaven's sake. In Matthew 9, we're reminded that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Are you advocating for clergy support in your diocese? Because it's time to step up. These trends aren't problems, they're invitations. If this episode has helped you, do me a favor, subscribe and leave a review. Share this with your parish priest or your leadership team. Join the conversation. DM me on social media. I'd love to hear from you. I even love hearing from the trolls because God loves them too, and they always put a smile on my face. Remember, the church isn't dying. It's being refined. So let's lead boldly in 2025. God bless you. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. I want to encourage you, as you lead this week, be faithful to God and generous to others. See you next time, and remember, if you're still breathing, you are powered for impact.